Hi guys. Happy Thursday night. I'm sorry I look like a hot mess, but you know what? I just had to hop on and talk to you guys. I've been crying since yesterday, so I am literally a hot mess. Yesterday morning, I had my appointment with my surgeon, my trauma surgeon, bone surgeon, orthopedic. And I have been a patient of his, for the past 2 years, going to University of Michigan. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, I was involved in a fatal car accident that killed my husband, critically injuring myself and seriously injuring my 2 kids, February 13th of 2021, a little over 2 years ago. And from that, I should not have survived that crash. I had 2 brain bleeds. Now I know I had a fractured jaw with broken teeth from the head impact, broken ribs, collapsed lung, my wrists, both of them. You see my scar. I put my hands up when we saw the truck. We were hit head on by a drunk driver. He was going 75 miles an hour. We were going 55, which was the speed limit, on a 2-lane country road. And he hit us head on. And he hit my side of the truck, actually. So I put my hands up when I saw the truck coming towards us. And the airbag broke my hands off my wrists. But one of my major injuries was my leg. My leg was crushed. The way that he hit our truck, my wheel well, the wheel came up into the passenger side leg space on the floor there. So it took an hour to extract me from the truck with the jaws of life. I was taken to the closest hospital to be stabilized. Then they took me to the nearest trauma center, where they kind of threw their hands in the air. They could not save me. So I was life flighted to University of Michigan, and once there, I was told they called the best surgeon, the best teaching doctor for orthopedic trauma. He's world renowned. Has studied abroad, and I don't know what made him end up in Michigan, but thankfully he was there, and they called him, and they were going to amputate my leg, and he saved it. And so it's been a long recovery. Last year, I thought I was doing well. I just walked, I stepped down a step and refractured my leg in a new area as my leg was healing still. And when I went and saw him, they found an infection in my leg, and that's why my bones were breaking, because I had an infection. They had saved my leg, but they didn't really repair it. They didn't think I was going to survive. I wasn't supposed to survive. I had a 50-50 chance of surviving my brain bleeds. And if I did survive, they said that I would be, at best, I would have lost all of my memories. But they really did prepare my family for me to, if I survived, to be in a vegetable state. And so God saved me. Jesus saved me. My scar on my leg is in the form of a letter J. And it reminds me every day that by the grace of God go I. And so I am here as a walking, talking miracle. And my doctor was able to save my leg. He went in, cleared out the infection. And while he was in there, originally they had so many there's so many pieces. They put it back together as best as they could, but it really wasn't put together so that I could walk again. Again, they didn't think I was going to survive, so they just saved my leg. But last year they went in and they actually repaired it so that I could walk again. And so this past year has been actually a harder recovery than the first time, because I was cut in the same muscles, in the same nerve endings, the same scar. I asked them to keep my scar because I didn't want my scar I wanted to keep the J. So it's been a long, hard road. And, I go every 3 months, and every 3 months I'm told, another 3 months, your bones just, it's just a really slow healing process. And so I sat in prayer yesterday for like an hour, preparing myself for another 3 months. And yesterday I was told that I was completely healed. I have 2 areas in my knee that have not grown bone back. But he does not think that's going to be a factor in the stability of my leg. It's just, there's just too much to heal. And those 2 areas, the bone just never grew back. But in the major fracture that holds my weight, that I needed healed, that bone has completely healed. And I cried. I cried, and I've been crying ever since. My doctor told me he didn't want to see me go, but that I didn't need him anymore, and he was letting me go as a patient. And if I ever needed him again, to call him. But I said, well, when do I see you next? And he said, well, how about you write me a note in a year and tell me how well you're doing? And it was very overwhelming. It was very overwhelming. And so I had to call my grief therapist because I had a really hard time yesterday. And I didn't understand why. And I'm sharing this because not only have you guys been praying for my healing, and I wanted you to know that your prayers have been answered. Like, the Lord has healed me. And I think it's taken this long because I needed this. I needed it to take 2 years. I needed to quiet my life. I needed to focus. I needed to center my life. I needed to rebuild. I needed to start something new. I needed to focus on the Lord and my children and my health and my home. And I needed to quiet it down. And so this was a way that God quieted me and kept me still. In the hospital, because of COVID and because of some not so kind people online who hunted me like an animal, which is why I don't share my personal life anymore online, because my sheriff basically asked me not to. He told me to be careful and not to, to keep it to baking and canning, and not to just be so open about my personal life, because it just wasn't safe. They moved me in the hospital because of some of the things that were going online, and the harassment that the sheriff's department got over our accident. And so because of that, I wasn't able to see my children or my family. And I was isolated because of that. And so for a long time, I was really angry and hurt and felt violated and felt like that was cruel. And, you know, I had touch deprivation from being isolated and grieving alone and not having anyone visit me or being able to hold my kids. But now in my walk with the Lord, I realize that that time, those 2 months that I was isolated alone, was so that I could grieve in private, so that I could grieve alone and with God, so that I could sit in Sabbath with Him and really get to know Him on an intimate level that I would have never been able to do any other way but isolation. So yesterday, I had all these emotions, and when I was in therapy this morning, thank goodness for my therapist, my grief therapist, she's on speed dial. I likened it to being stuck in quicksand, you know, like I'm in quicksand and I've been stuck for 2 years, unable to move. The more I struggle, the more the deeper I go. So I just needed to be still and wait and be patient and learn how to be still and work on myself, work through my grief. And you know, I feel like my kids escaped the quicksand, and like everybody was on dry shore just waiting for me to get out. And now I've been pulled out. Like for the first time, I'm out of what's kept me stuck for 2 years. And although I should be happy and celebrating and looking forward to moving forward and getting healthy, I can't help but look back at the quicksand, knowing that my Maddie is down below it, and he's never coming out. And so how do I move forward? So much of my healing journey has kept me tied to this accident, tied to this tragedy. You know, even the sentencing, like I haven't been able to move on. Like everybody else has moved on, and I'm still stuck in the story. And now I've kind of been released, and I'm scared to move forward because I don't want to leave him behind. And I'm sharing all this because so many of you have reached out to me in the email of Kneady to Heal. And I wanted you to know that you're not alone. Like, even though I'm over 2 years into this, and I have moved forward in my life, grief is a part of me. It is a part of the fabric of my soul. I have soaked it in like a sponge, and now it's a part of me. Like, it's not something that I don't think is ever gonna leave me. I think I'm gonna grieve. If I live till 90, I will grieve until then. And I want you to know that I hear you and I see you, and I'm in prayer over how the Lord wants to use my platform to connect people who are suffering, who are grieving. I don't know if I'm going to, I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I'm waiting for him to tell me to move. But it's on my heart. And I'm reading your emails and I want to share them. I want to share them. I want more people to know, because grief, you feel like you're in the quicksand by yourself. And you're not. There's so many of us in it with you. But I wanted to thank you guys for praying over me and for me, because I'm healed. Now I just have to fix all my teeth. That's the last bit of it. My head trauma broke many of my teeth, and I've got 5 broken down to the bone. So we're getting a plan together, and the best way to treat all of that, my teeth are kind of disintegrating from the inside out because of the lack of calcium that I've had, because I had so many broken bones to heal at once, along with all the medications that I've been on and all of that. But that's kind of like the last bit of this journey for me, and that'll start taking place over the next couple of months. But as far as my injuries go, especially my leg, I'm healed, and I'm here as a walking, talking miracle that God is real, and he is a redeemer, and he's a restorer. And hold on to your faith. And when you feel like you're alone, I promise you, you're not. And we're all touched by grief. At some point in our life, just like we're all touched by birth, we will all be touched by death. And you don't suffer that alone. And there is purpose in the pain. And the suffering makes you appreciate the joy so much more. I love much more intensely now than I ever did before. I let arguments go because I know it's not worth it. The time is precious and it's fleeting, and you're not promised tomorrow. None of us are. So live your life like today is the last day on earth for you. Live it full. Live it with a joyful heart. I share my Bible studies with you because that's how I start my morning. I start my morning in the Lord's hands, and it sets my heart space for the entire day. And so I just want to be an encourager for you. And I just want to let you know that you're not alone. And I love you, and I thank you for praying for me and my kids, my babies. We're doing good, you guys. And we're healing. But our healing is going to be a lifetime. And I'm moving forward with Matt in my heart. He's never going to leave me. I'm a strong woman because of him. He taught me a lot. But he also taught me how to grieve. And how strong I am. What did I read? I read somewhere, I'm as strong as a Waffle House steak. As a steak in a Waffle House. I laughed. I read that somewhere and it made me laugh. I love you guys. And I'm glad to be back on my channel. It's going to be different here because my heart is different. My heart space is different. It's not going to be for all of you. And if you have to leave, I understand. But for those of you who choose to stay, know that you're going to have my heart. And we're going to have fun here. We're going to do all the things that bring us joy. But we're also going to share the Lord, the love for the Lord, because he's real. And in my coma, I heard things and I saw things. And I was so close. So live every day as if it were your last. Love hard, love big. And don't sweat the small stuff. Were anyone mad about the chicken video that I did a couple days ago? It ain't that deep, guys. It's not that deep. Just love one another. That's all that matters. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. God bless. And tomorrow I'm going to film that video sharing my Baker Creek seeds because I still haven't opened the package. And my garden planner. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye.